I'm kind of learning things about myself over the last couple of years, and one of the things I realize is that I don't do well when authors don't believe me. And it comes in a lot of different ways, but one of the ways is editorially. When I feel like the manuscript needs work, I realize that, a lot of times I'll concede or, agree that, well, okay, you're right. But a lot of times I feel like, it really does need more work. And if the author is sort of in a different place, I think it's better that I don't work with that person because it makes a weird relationship. Like, as opposed to us working as a team, I feel I have to prove myself as opposed to us proving ourselves to each other. Does that have to be willing to do that? So the first question is, it's not a question necessarily of how many times you read it. The book has to be at a certain level so you can go through it that many times. For nonfiction, a million times for proposals, so people want to kill me. But it really is a process. But the thing people hear is, oh, so he'll work with me. And they don't realize that if it's not already at that level and you're sort of walking around with your big clumsy shoes and saying, we need to change this character, and by changing the character, all of a sudden you realize that dialogue doesn't work. And then you realize that, with the chain reaction, there's all these other issues. So by fixing thing one, there's all these other issues. That's really hard. That's hard to get in there and work with. So it has to be at a certain level where if you're tweaking something, it's not going to screw everything else up. Does that make sense?
Take on novels that I really love and that I think are almost ready. With nonfiction, it's a little different. With nonfiction, I'm more prepared to do a lot of work on a proposal. But fiction, I want it really close, frankly, and I mostly sell it, so that works. Jeff is like an amazing editor, I have to say, and I'm envious of Jeff's skill as an editor.
Suck up.
It's actually really true. I am very, very envious. That's true. He's an amazing editor. I'm not. I'm an okay editor. So that just changes where in the process I tend to take on a novel. I think, Jeff, don't you, that if you become an agent, there is something in your psychology that you feel immensely protective of people. It's like this mama bear instinct, and you feel so, you're a bulldog on behalf of these people. I'm sure that's...
Jeff, do you feel like a mama bear? Sweet and tender. You're the vicious one.
Interestingly, and I know Jeff feels the same way as I do, well, no, not but anyway, so you get involved every time there's a problem, and...
You only get involved if you know there's a problem.
Yeah.
And so that really depends on the agent too, because there's a lot of agents that you go down your path and you now fighting with your editor, you haven't kept the agent in loop, that's your problem. We come in at that point where to try to fix things because it's too late.
Jenny is just always there if I hit any kind of wall. And that's very comforting. Do you know what I mean? That you have somebody, suddenly you have somebody next to you when you run into a situation where you feel like you're not communicating well with somebody, or you're not sure of this thing, or you're not sure what comes next, and there's somebody to talk to about. We even talk through like, which should be the next novel. And that's a really fun conversation. That's not something I'm used to at all. Because, I think like most writers, you sort of work in a certain kind of silence and privacy for a very long time. It's sort of amazing, really, to have somebody that you can bounce that stuff off of.